Hey, how you doing? Nick James here. Welcome to another episode of Open and Real Q&A with Nick J. We're on episode number 11, and this time we've got a bit of a twist. Because Jav is in the hot seat today. Which means these aren't questions that have been gathered from our community. These are Jav's questions specifically. He's given himself a whole episode. And the questions are all going to be centered around our recent Expert Empires event. Jav thought there'd be some questions that you might find useful, valuable to hear those answers from me. So Jav, over to you. I'm in your hands. We are in your hands. This is your episode. You own it. I am merely your servant. Go for it.
No pressure. Okay, so the first one that I thought I'd ask is, how do you physically and mentally prepare for an event of that size?
Oh, good question. So because I do quite a lot of speaking and presenting anyway, it's probably less demanding or less of a shock to the system than it used to be. So I remember when I used to do these kind of large scale 2-day events, I'd probably only back then, I was maybe doing 2 or 3 days a month of speaking. And then I'd do this big show, a couple of times a year, which was very highly intensive. Whereas now I'm probably doing more like 8 to 10 days a month of speaking and presenting. And so I've probably built the muscle. I suppose it's like using the gym analogy. And of course, I use it a lot. I'm doing more sessions in the gym, as it were. And therefore, when it comes to like competing, I'm fitter and then more able mentally and physically to deal with it. That said, how do I prepare for it? First of all, week leading up to the event itself, we try as best we can to dial down the speaking and delivery so that I'm a bit fresher. So, that I don't have to use that muscle as much in the build-up, or those muscles as much in the build-up. I, over the course of maybe a month in the lead-up, I'm working on new content, new ideas, playing around with presentations, PowerPoint, etc. I've got somebody that I work with on that, who's actually now one of our clients, who kind of gives me advice, training, insight, opinion on what would make for the best presentations at the event. So really the preparation starts, for me, like a month out. But, then in the days leading up to the event, like I said, we try as best we can to not have any speaking or delivery in those days. The day before is always completely open and free, nothing on that day. I always have a conversation or a call with Jeff, my coach. That's more just like mental preparation and setting some intentions. And as always, I'm doing what I can to take care of physical health and body, hydration, nutrition, exercise, etc. So yeah, all of those things really. What's interesting is my recovery is fairly quick. Like after this event, and it happens almost every time. So, the following week, people are like, "Have you recovered?" I'm like, "What?" Like straight up. Don't get me wrong. I'm knackered at the end of day 2, albeit at this event, I was less knackered than I've ever been at the end of a 2-day event, ever. I was surprised. And people are like, "Have you recovered?" One good night's sleep, and I'm golden the next day. And I think the reason for that is that I always make sure, I do this generally well anyway, like the weekends, I'm pretty much switched off. So literally, the events, Wednesday night dinner, early start Thursday, late night Thursday night, early start Friday, late finish Friday evening. I'm knackered, good night's sleep, and then I switch off Saturday, Sunday, spend time with the family, do all the things I'd normally do. And to be honest, I don't really feel any kind of like hangover from it. As long as I get rest, that's it. So it's not that demanding after the fact. It's just quite hard work during the event when, strain mentally, emotionally, voice, physically, like I'm on my feet all day. But yeah, generally speaking, hard at the time, but I think because of the preparation, it makes it easier to manage. And actually, the only thing I can put what I just said about I didn't feel like at the end of the 2 days, like Friday evening when we were debriefing, as you know, we do that as a team. I felt less tired, less knackered than I think I've ever done after a big event. And the only thing I can put it down to, because I don't really have anything else to compare or that would have been different, is I am physically fitter than I've been ever. So I'm just training more in the gym. I'm running more. I'm just physically fitter, and my endurance is better, and that's the only thing that's changed. So I think it must be that.
Nice.
I can't imagine what it must be like to do an event like that of that magnitude and put yourself under so much strain, mentally, emotionally, physically. If I wasn't fit, like, I don't know how people survive. No wonder, like, I get the have you recovered? Isn't it draining and knackering? Because I guess if I wasn't fit, it would be hardcore. Yeah.
Good answer.
Thanks. Satisfied with that answer?
I am.
By the way, do you like our new microphones? Apparently, these Jav's spent my money on these. I don't know if they're any better than ones we had before, but he assures me that they are. So
I'm sure they are. Okay, so the next question is going to be a hard one because I know you like giving multiple answers.
Great.
But what is the one biggest challenge when running expert empires?
What's the one biggest challenge? Yeah, that is a tough question because straight away I had like 3 or 4 that came to my mind. What's the one biggest challenge when running expert empires? So my personal biggest challenge when running expert empires, and I think the team feel this probably, like, I am a bit of a perfectionist when it comes to these things. Like, I so want everything to look and feel and be perfect. And the problem is how I filter the world, and this isn't just about events, it's generally, I filter the world through what is wrong rather than what is right. Mm-hmm. So, like, if I walk into a room and it's spotless, but there's one thing out of sync, I'll notice that one thing. I won't notice all the good stuff. I'll notice the thing that's not okay, not good enough, out of place. Just how my brain's wired. I'm sure somebody watching this or listening to this can do some deep psychological analysis of how screwed up I am, and that's where my brain works. But the biggest challenge when it comes to an Expert Empires event for me is like letting the little things go. Because look, when you run an event like that, there's always going to be stuff. There's always going to be something that didn't work quite right with the sound, or there'll be something out of place in the room that doesn't look quite right. And those things really bother me because I am such a perfectionist. I think it's because I've run these events for so long, not just, Expert Empires events since 2017, but one day I'll total up how many events I've actually run. It'll be in the hundreds, multiple hundreds of events. And so, I like things how I like them. And it's because I want the events to be world class and the best they can be. And, I talk about it a lot, of course, on the podcast and here on these Q&As. Like, I was around for my entire childhood, an absolute master of running world class events. And, by the way, an absolute obsessive of everything being perfect, Tony Robbins. Like, if you go to a Tony Robbins event, everything is done deliberately and for a reason. Nothing's left to chance. And so I think being around that so much as a kid, I've kind of caught that bug by just being around it. And by the way, and I think it's a good thing.
Yeah, definitely.
Because my standards are so high. But I also think that creates a challenge because if I'm not careful, and I have made this mistake before, my criticism of the little things sometimes outweighs acknowledging and appreciating how good a job we've actually done. And I say we being the team, because I am over 2 to 3 days going, right, hey, this needs to be better, that needs to be changed. Why have we not got that tidied? I'm at it the whole time. I can't switch it off. And I do think that my tendency is probably to go too obsessive on that and then not actually. And it's funny because actually in other areas of the business, I've got very much a good is good enough attitude. It's just not when it comes to the look and feel and the setup of an event.
It's what makes it so good though, right?
Probably, yeah. And, where it is now has been built up over time. And, when I think back to the first Expert Empires, May 2017, we were at the Ibis Hotel in Earl's Court, which, by the way, we can beat this out. It's an absolute hole. Like the rooms, honestly, I wouldn't ask Jav to stay there. That's how bad they are.
Wow.
And the food was crap. And, the conference room itself is pretty good. But just the venues, not the kind of environment that I would want to run an event in. And there were a number of things that we learned from that event. And, we soon moved from that venue somewhere different, somewhere better. And that's one big change over the years, but there's been probably 100 little ones that we've done since then. So I do think it's how many times we've done them. They've developed and improved. Do we get it all right, perfect now? No. And we're constantly striving to improve.
Nice. That was one answer as well. So good job.
Thanks, mate. Appreciate your acknowledgement on that.
Okay. So you've had a lot of speakers at the event, a lot of great speakers, but what to you makes a great speaker?
One day, not only will I count up how many events we've run, I'll also count up how many speakers we've had at Expert Empires. Actually, I won't. I'll outsource it.
I was going to say,
that job.
Delegation.
Sorry, I forgot the question now. What makes a great speaker? What makes a great speaker? That's so hard. Because the thing is, it's like asking, I don't know why my brain went here. It's like asking what makes someone attractive. And it's different things for different people. So what I think makes a great speaker is going to be very different to what somebody else thinks makes a great speaker. I personally love speakers who are great storytellers. Like, take me on a journey, make me laugh, make me cry. That's what I'm looking for from a speaker. If you can make me laugh and make me cry in the same presentation, it's like what makes a great movie or a great TV show. I'm like, if it's a TV show that can make me laugh and make me cry, I'm hooked. If it only makes me cry, I'm like, nice, because, it gives me an emotion. If it only makes me laugh, great, gives me an emotion. But if it can take me on this journey and I don't know what's going to come next, that's what makes a great speaker for me. Do I like structured presentations that teach me stuff? Yeah, I do. And actually, I'm probably better at that than I am at storytelling as a speaker. So maybe the reason I love speakers who tell great stories and move people emotionally is because that's not actually my greatest gift. I'm okay at it, but I'm not world class at that bit. Whereas I think I'm probably better when it comes to teaching a structured presentation with content that's organized in a way that makes logical sense. So maybe the reason I answer it that way is because I appreciate that skill set more, because it's not my primary skill set as a speaker. But yeah, anyone that can move an audience. When I think back to some of the greatest Expert Empires keynotes, what's funny? Some of the greatest keynotes or presentations haven't come from the most famous speakers. Don't get me wrong, Gary Vee was amazing, Cardone was amazing, Goggins was amazing, Lisa Nichols was amazing, Fabian Fredrickson was amazing, all these phenomenal speakers. But like the ones that stick out are people like Sam Rathling, who most people have never heard of. So she teaches people how to use LinkedIn to build their businesses. She shared her story on stage and you could have heard a pin drop in the room. When I went on stage at the end of her presentation, I was crying because it was so moving. And she's there to teach people about LinkedIn, which is the least emotional platform of all, probably, social media platforms. But the story was so emotional and so powerful that the room was just, I've never seen it before or since, I don't think. Apart from our famous headline keynote speakers, I don't think I've ever seen a speaker get a full audience standing ovation at the end of a talk, and she did. Unbelievable. Unless it was manufactured by the speaker, which I have seen a few do, where got the audience on their feet and got them doing a clapping exercise and then go, oh, thanks for standing ovation, which is quite clever. But yeah, that's the first time I've seen it, like spontaneous standing ovation from the entire audience. Literally not a single person didn't stand up. And like people like Susie Ashworth at the last Expert Empires, unbelievable. Again, moved the audience physically, high energy music, people were dancing, and then the next thing you know, it's like emotion. Like you're now in your feelings within seconds. I'm like, that's what makes a great speaker for me. And it's probably, this wasn't your question, but I'll give it anyway. What do I think my biggest growth or development as a speaker is? That's it. It's the ability to take people from here to here in a moment. And the thing is, I actually believe I can do it. It's just not the way my brain's wired. It's not. I always go to, how can I provide most value educationally to this audience? How can I get them the information out of my head and into theirs as quickly and efficiently as possible? And I think I do that really well. But what I don't do as well is that emotional bit, which I think I want to do more of. Because that's what people remember. It's cliche, but, people don't remember what you said, or they don't really remember what they learned, but they always remember how you made them feel.
Yeah.
And that's the bit that I think I want to improve. That wasn't your question, but I'll share it anyway.
It's a good tangent.
Yeah, thanks.
Okay, so what results have people achieved by attending here?
So attendees, what kind of results people get in when they come to Expert Empires? The answer I'm going to give is not the answer everyone's expecting. A large percentage of people that come to Expert Empires do not get a tangible result. Really? Did I just say that? Yeah, because it's the truth. And I'm not going to bull anybody. So a reasonably significant percentage of people that come to events like Expert Empires don't get a tangible result. In other words, a measurable result or return on their investment. Because they don't implement the specific tactics and strategies they've been taught. That said, I believe, based on the feedback we received, that a large percentage, the vast majority of the people that come to an Expert Empires event get massive value from it because of the connections they make, the experiences they have, how they feel, the social aspect of connecting with people that are like-minded, like business partnerships are formed, but all of these things probably don't give a tangible short-term result. Mm-hmm. And that said, there are a smaller percentage who, these are like the implementers, the action takers, the people that they learn something and they execute it immediately or in the moment. And we see these, there was, on the follow-up from this event, which was only a couple of weeks ago, I've seen a number of posts in our Facebook community and people have sent me messages. They've done something specific they learned from me or from one of the other speakers, and it's returned them X thousand or tens of thousands of pounds in new sales. That makes my heart sing. I love it. But not everyone does that. And that's their stuff, not mine. So I go, look, we can teach the best tactics, the best strategies in the world. Not everyone's going to do them. Now, obviously, we also, at our events, do everything we possibly can to develop the person, the individual, overcome some of the things, the blockages, the reasons why they maybe don't implement or execute as quickly as they could. But yeah, I would say, does everyone get massive value from Expert Empires? I couldn't say everyone because I can't speak on everyone's behalf, but I can speak from a place of all the feedback we get and the data we collect. We ask for feedback and we get, we use a tool called Net Promoter Score, which is like a client satisfaction survey that we send out, and we track that. So I know from many, many years of doing this that, a large percentage of our audience get massive value, and that's why they come again and again. And, we've already sold, I believe, for the next Expert Empires event, 180 odd tickets from this last event. So I go, well, that's like over a third, not quite a half, but over a third of the audience that have said, yeah, I'm coming back again in November. They've bought a ticket for. So I think that probably tells its own story, the people that do, come back time and time again. That said, the tangible results are really down to whether or not people execute. And so, what I always try and do at an Expert Empires event is create variety of, speakers. I mentioned people like Susie Ashworth, people like Lisa Nichols, people that will move an audience emotionally. People like, I'm thinking like Lewis Howes or Tom Bilyeu. These guys and girls have got, they have a gift for moving an audience emotionally. I think Ed Milet did that brilliantly as well. So, I think I want those speakers because I want people to feel a certain way at our events. But I also want speakers that are going to give very practical, here's something you can do now to gain more clients and increase your revenues. So like we had Cordelia, for example, speak last couple of weeks ago at Expert Empires. And she gave like, here's a post that you can put on Instagram or Facebook or LinkedIn or whatever to generate your leads. And then here's what you do next. And here's how you convert it into sales. And I've seen and heard stories from numerous clients who have used that and have generated sales already in the first couple of weeks. So, but I go, if I do 2 days of just practical, tactical, do this and make more money, or do this and get more clients or customers, then it's going to be like very information heavy. And if we do 2 days of just like making people feel, then they're going, well, I feel great, but I haven't actually learned anything that I can go and do now. So it's a variety of that. And that's why, look, the fact is, when people come to Expert Empires, do they absolutely love every single speaker? No. And, my comment on it and my position on it is always, for me, creating the speaker lineup is a bit like creating a menu for a really great restaurant. And I go, look, I go to, a lot of nice restaurants. I love eating fine foods. There's a lovely new restaurant in Birmingham called Arel, which is class. Me and my wife have been there a few times. We love it. Now, if I go to Arel and I look at the menu, like, there's no doubt in my mind, everything on that menu is class. But like, I ain't interested in the vegan dish. It's just not my taste. Or, I'm not going to order something that's got like, you can see what my diet's like now. I'm not going to order something that's got like tofu or feta cheese or these things that I don't like. They're probably, by the way, if you like those things, it would taste amazing. It'd be world class. But like, I like steak. So give me the steak any day of the week, right? Or like give me a really nice seafood starter. That's my taste. So when I think about an Expert Empires lineup, I want to create a menu like Arel do. I go, everything on there is great. It's class. But it might not all be to your taste. And some people want to feel a certain way. Some people want to learn tactical. Some people want high-level philosophical, strategic business advice, which is more my kind of wheelhouse. So yeah, I think I want to put together that. The goal is always to put together that kind of menu. And I've had in the past, I'm not going to name the speaker, but I've had a speaker at Expert Empires in the past. And I remember vividly, I had people come up to me at the end of their talk in tears, thanking me for bringing this speaker to their lives. They didn't know them before. They were like, oh my life, this person was amazing. Thank you so much for bringing them into my life. I'm so grateful. Literally in tears. The same speaker, I had other people come up to me and go, yeah, I just didn't get that. I just didn't get it at all. Like whatever that was, it just didn't get it. I'm like, hey, thanks for the feedback. But I know that's the game I'm playing. I know that I've got like a menu, and some people like steak and some people are vegan. And the thing is, I've got 500 or 600 of them in a room, and I've got one stage. So you don't get to pick off the menu what you want to eat. It's like you're going to sample it all, and some of it you might not like the taste of. And that's the way it is. Hey, welcome back to part 2 of episode 11 of Open and Real Q&A with Nick J and Jav, who is, of course, Question Master. By the way, the reason we had to cut this episode in half was because at the first part of recording, Jav kind of paused and went, I've just had a reminder pop up on the calendar that you need to be at the dentist in 10 minutes. So we'd run over on the recording and I had to shoot off and have quite a painful procedure. And then this is the first time we've managed to get back in the room and reshoot. So part 2 is up and running. Here we go.
Yeah. So first question on part 2 is, what's your goal for each event? Like, what do you strive to achieve?
Oh, good question. So there are a few goals that I have for each Expert Empires event, a few, I guess, ways in which we measure success at each event, in no particular order. The first goal is to sell the event out because unless, we have a full room, then I don't really consider the event a roaring success. The next one, so that's kind of pre-event. The next one is something we measure every Expert Empires event on, which is called NPS or Net Promoter Score. So if you've attended an Expert Empires event previously, you'll have remembered receiving probably a text or an email post-event saying, how likely are you to recommend Expert Empires to a friend or a colleague? And you give us a score, 1 to 10. And then we have a formula that we use to calculate the NPS, the Net Promoter Score, which ranges from minus 100, the event was terrible, to plus 100, it was world class. And so our score that we collect, our Net Promoter Score, is a goal that we have, a measurement of success. And it normally ranges between 50 and 80. And I don't remember exactly what the characterizations are, but I think anything between 40 and 70 is excellent, and anything from 70 and above is world class. And I think we're normally between 60 and 80. I think we might have had one in the 50s. So yeah, normally between very good and world class. And then I guess the final measurement of success, again, this is something that gives me a sense of how good a job we've done, how many clients enroll in our mastermind programs. So, if we've done a world-class job of delivering a great event, and if my presentations have been on point and we've really served and people want to continue working with us, that's a good sign. And so depending upon the size of the event and how many people in the room are not already clients, etc., we normally have a goal for how many mastermind enrollments we'll make. So those are the key ones. There are lots of other measurables and things that we intend or set goals around, but those are the main three probably.
Nice. So I can't believe it was last month, but from last month's event, what's your one takeaway?
What's my one takeaway? You know what? Like, this is called Open and Real Q&A with Nick J. So I'm going to be open and real. Really hard for me to say this publicly, but you know how I roll. Because, by the way, the event was a success, no shadow of a doubt. That said, I am, as you know, and as the team know, obsessed with constant and never-ending improvement. And I feel like at the last Expert Empires event, even though NPS score was very good, mastermind enrollments were strong, we sold the event out, I feel like, did I mention this in the previous part one? I feel like I missed the mark a little bit. This is a problem with recording part one and part two, 2 weeks apart. I forget what I said in part one. I don't want to repeat myself. I felt like I missed the mark a little bit on the speaker lineup, just in terms of the topics that were covered, the order and sequence that we had them. I think we had, because I always love to, as you know, Jav, I love to give opportunities to up and coming speakers, clients of ours. I feel like I might have probably done that more at this event than I normally do. And therefore we had probably less experienced speakers than we would normally have. And so I think maybe we just missed the mark slightly on that. So that's I know that sounds like a negative as the biggest takeaway, but it's the one thing that I focused most on over the last month as we prepare for Expert Empires in November, is to kind of redress that balance and make sure we nail it next time. And I'm happy to share, I think the first couple of Expert Empires events, we were kind of finding our feet with what that structure looked like in terms of speaker lineup. And so there were some great things about those first couple of events back in 2017, 18, but there were some learnings. And then I feel like we really hit our stride in 2019, and we had 3 events in 2019 that I think we nailed. They were all class. Then obviously we had a year or so where we couldn't run live, so we did online. And then since we've been back, I think we've done a really good job. And, I think we had our record highest ever NPS score at the last event by September 2022. So yeah, I feel like this one, I probably missed the mark a little bit. And so, I'm committed to looking at what we could do to improve on that aspect for the next Expert Empires event, 23rd, 24th of November at the Hilton at Wembley in London. Put the date in your diary. And we're not actually selling tickets yet online, are we? But go to expertempires.com and I'm sure you can get information and register your interest. And I've just signed our first headline speaker, which I'm very excited about.
Interesting. Well, speaking of which, the last question, what are you looking forward to most about the next event?
Yeah, I think next event, I'm going to say this publicly as well. I think it's probably going to be the last one we do at this venue. I don't think I've shared that anywhere else. I think the team probably know that's the intention, but I don't think publicly. Probably the last time, hopefully nobody from the Hilton at Wembley is listening or watching the podcast. Probably the last time we used that venue, just because simply we've had 3 events on the bounce now that have sold out and we're kind of outgrowing it. So I think we're going to have to search for a new home, which is a bit of a shame. It feels like, we've done, I don't know how many there, probably 7 or 8 events there now. And it does feel like a home from home. So what I'm excited about the next event is, we've just signed the first headline speaker. I've been working on the lineup over the last couple of weeks and it's looking really strong. I've got offer out with one other headliner who I think is going to be amazing if we can get them. So I'm excited about that, as I always am. But I think because it could be the last one at this venue, it will feel like a bit of an end of an era, which might sound like a negative or a bit sad, but I think that's natural. That's part of growth of a business. It's part of growth of us as individuals. So I think having, if it does turn out to be the last one at this venue, kind of like, drawing the curtain on that and then opening up a new chapter for Expert Empires in a new home where we can expand, where we can create an even bigger and better event. I'm excited about that opportunity and that possibility for sure.
Sounds good.
Yeah. Cool. Well, that was a short finish to this 2-part episode. It wasn't planned to be 2 parts. But hopefully you found this episode useful, valuable, interesting. As always, any questions you've got that you'd like to put forward to me for the next episode, please just send them in on email to Jav, J-A-V, at expertempires.com. That's Jav, J-A-V, at expertempires.com. Equally, post questions you'd like to put forward to future episodes in the comments. If you're watching on YouTube as well, you can do it that way. And thanks again, as always, for listening, for tuning in.